How you doing, guys? It was almost 7 years ago when I finally had officially walked away from Jehovah's Witnesses and would never have any intention of ever going back. I was actually looking forward to going back and living the life I had before I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Part of me really wanted to, and the other part knew that it wasn't going to happen. Because I knew my last few years in that the world had gotten to be a darker place. The world had changed, and I had changed. See, before I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, I knew shit was going to hit the fan sooner or later. Things were going to happen that JWs don't even tell you about. But it had not affected my life at that time. It was always sometime in the future. Well, by the time I left, I realized things weren't quite the same. I have gotten very select who I speak to. There was a time when I was younger that I would speak to anybody about anything, about goings-on, what goes on behind the scenes. And for the most part, most people were never really worth the effort. And I'm recognizing that today. I've gotten very select. I don't waste the oxygen on most people, especially you've got the two kinds of people. Those that'll make a joke about what you're telling them, or those that will combat. Now, anybody who knows me on Facebook knows that it's something that I don't take serious. I play on Facebook because Facebook is a joke. Every so often, I'll put a little truth out there, and it never fails. Somebody who doesn't normally comment on my page, because we all have the same people that comment on our pages. And we also have those Facebook friends that you never hear from. It's normal. But whenever I throw some truth out there, you'll always get that one person that you never hear from combating you. I don't mind opposing opinions. The unfortunate thing is they don't leave it at just one. They'll keep coming back and coming back and coming back. Now, I don't waste a breath on them because I know I'm not going to change their mind. They're never going to wake up, so I leave it be. But they're also not going to change my mind, although they continue trying. So rather than argue with them, I'll make a comment like, oh, you know, you're right. Or the ever popular, which is more common, yeah, what do I know? And I'll leave it at that. Hopefully I know that I'm telling them to piss off. Remember when JW broadcasting first came on the scene? I don't, because I never saw it. But all the JWs were getting sticky and wet over this. I mean, they're like every weekend I was, hey, did you see JW broadcasting this month? No, I don't have a computer. You should come over to the house and watch with us. I'll pass. Because I figured whatever they're going to talk about on the broadcast is eventually going to be mentioned at the meetings. At the time, I don't even think I knew who the governing body members were, nor cared. Well, let's say it's about a year into it, maybe two, and I overheard a couple of the J-dubs talking. I didn't get involved in too many conversations at the hall, because most of them were boring anyways. But I overheard a couple of guys talking that they had seen several governing body members with Masonic rings. Well, I took that with a grain of salt. Maybe you've got bad eyes. But I kept hearing it over the next year. As a matter of fact, one JW I was out in service with mentioned it to me while we were out in service. Now, this guy was a hardcore JW. He spoke highly about this organization no matter what was going on. And he looked visibly upset when he mentioned it to me. He says, yeah, I saw several of them wearing the Masonic rings. I didn't think he even knew what they were, but he did. Well, I took notice of it that time, and I started catching JW broadcasting. And he was right. It was about 2015. I guess many people noticed they were wearing Masonic rings because all of a sudden they stopped wearing them, never to be seen again, for a while. Well, over the next few years, I was getting information more and more and more about the Jehovah's Witnesses, from the child sex abuse problem to the money laundering. And for a while, I kept it to myself. I was faking, I was pretending. I was basically a PMO, physically and mentally out. But I pretended everything was all hunky-dory. The only problem with that is there comes a day where you can no longer stay silent. And when it comes out of your mouth, it comes out all at once. Well, I felt around to a lot of people at the hall. The one mistake I made was assuming that other people in the hall were seeing the same thing I was. Today I'm thinking, maybe some did, maybe some didn't. The difference was the others that saw it didn't want to move away from their comfort zone. They wanted to hide. They didn't want to see the reality of their organization. They were more comfortable with the fairy tale. Because when I was finally questioned about things I was saying, including the Masonic rings, the people that had admitted this to me, all of a sudden, I never said that. They went in total denial. And I'm looking at these pieces of shit. You know full well you did. But I guess I stood on my own. I always do anyway, so I was fine with that. But I walked away. The sorry thing is, the world I walked into was more indoctrinated than the Kingdom Hall. Hold on, guys, I gotta get some coffee. You know, for a few years, everything was good. I was making money, didn't have to worry about the meetings. The JWs were shunning me, so they weren't pestering me. But then things started changing. If anybody remembered what Fauci was saying, I'm not sure if this is before the election or after the 2016 election, I can't remember, but he pretty much put a point blank. There was going to be a pandemic by the end of that presidential term. So they put it out there. They knew it. And what I was seeing starting in 2020 was more indoctrination than I have ever seen at a Kingdom Hall. How many people, especially these mandates, were wearing these face condoms? In all honesty, I absolutely refuse to wear them. Because frankly, no, they are not going to do any good. But nonetheless, they started dividing people. They started getting people the us versus them attitude. The masked against the unmasked. I made a comment about not wearing a mask on one of my videos a few years ago. And I actually lost a couple of longtime subscribers. People that had been watching my channel since day one. Which is fine, I don't take that personal. But here they were against me now because I refused to wear a mask. And you know the funny thing is, I'm glad I didn't. Now we know the truth about the masks, that they're absolutely no damn good. Then they started pushing the jab. More indoctrination. I felt as though I was still amongst Jehovah's Witnesses because they were believing, most people were believing everything that was shoved at them. Masked everywhere you go. Then they started talking about the jab. Now here was something nobody had a clue what it was. All I know is, no, damned if I'm going to take it. And I am not, and I still not. What they did, again, the us versus them attitude. Do you know what I'd like to compare the jab to? As a matter of fact, a former YouTuber I was talking to the other night made mention of this, and it's so true, that the jab was a worldwide baptism. You could compare the dunk with the Jehovah's Witnesses with the jab in society. See, once you're dunked as a Jehovah's Witness, they immerse you in the water, you are now one of them. You now look down on everybody on the outside. You frown down on those that haven't been baptized. You're against them. Now, the people that have been jabbed, they're trained to look down on the people that have not gotten the jab. It's us versus them. You're inconsiderate for not getting this jab. But the funny thing is, here it is now. If the jab was so effective, now they're telling you you can still catch this virus, the Kung flu. So what good was the jab if you can still get sick? Now you need a booster year after year after year. I know I'm going to get some flack in the comments section over this, but nonetheless, how many people are regretting getting the jab? But there is actually nobody that's not regretting not taking the jab. To me, it was a worldwide baptism. And I'm looking at so many indoctrinated people. Now, the people you see wearing the masks today, these poor bastards will be wearing those masks for the rest of their lives. They will never take them off out of fear. The world is controlled by fear. Do you remember what happened after the pandemic subsided? They had to keep the population in fear. What did they try next? Murder hornets. That was so laughable. It didn't last a week. I swear I was expecting them to come up with sodomy geese next. Then they monkeypox. Something even scarier. Well, most people kind of caught on to it. There's something not right with this. So they stopped believing in the Kung flu. They stopped believing, well, the murder hornets never really happened. Sounded like a B movie to me. The monkeypox, it was laughable as well. But they're going to have to get a lot more creative. See, they're working with fear. And the funny thing is, I am select who I speak to because the people that are going to wake up have already woke up. The people that are not going to wake up, they're never going to wake up. And then there's the people that know, but don't get involved. I was speaking to one woman a few months ago about it. Now, she's well aware something's not right. And she says to me, how can they get away with this? In the same breath, she says, but I'm just too busy with my own personal problems to get involved in this. So I responded to her, that's how they're getting away with this. See, people's personal lives have yet to been affected that they know of. So they put it on the back burner. It's not affecting me now, so I'm not going to get involved. The thing is, by the time it's that noticeable to where your lives are affected, it's going to be too late. You can't continually put it on the back burner. See, now, before I was baptized, before I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses, that's going back, 16 years ago now, it was still way off in the future. Well, the difference is the future is now here. You can't keep putting it off. So keep that in mind, guys. It just angers me that when I see Jehovah's Witnesses wake up from what happened in the organization and yet are sound asleep to what's going on the outside. And I anger a lot of them because of what I say, but guys, wake up. You were fooled once and you're being fooled again. Because guys, in all honesty, the entire world is a very large kingdom hall. Anyways, guys, you all have a good night. I will talk to you soon.